Hey YouTube, Nate here again. Thought I would do a fall video update because it's just about 6 o'clock and it is pitch black out. Getting to be that time of year. So I thought I'd do an update on the cabin here. It's been a while since I've posted anything on Facebook or anywhere else for that matter. One of the major improvements to this thing has been this all metal stair step that was made out of parts from inside of here. It was it was the structure for underneath this bench seat. This thing had bench seats, 2 bench seats on either side here. And I took this whole side out to get more room in here. And when I did that, there was all this scrap metal. You can kind of see a little bit of it there. But all this scrap metal left over. So what I did is I got a friend of mine to weld up some steps. And these are, I'll have to get some pictures in the daylight or something, but these are absolutely rock solid. I mean, it's going to take a hurricane to move these things. Super sturdy. Everything's welded together, way overkill, but it's nice. Less than 8 inches step here, really wide, so you can, get stuff up in here easily. Aside from that, a little more recent here, we'll just kind of work our way around. I've got my air compressor set up here, just a little small dinky one for rotating tires, occasional impact gun use. Got an extra tank set up there with plumbing so that I can pair it into the other one and basically have 6 gallons to work with for a burst, that kind of thing. Got a homemade hose holder here, 50 foot and then 25 foot, and these are the what do they call them? The Milton type V connectors, or the larger size that not a lot of people know about. They push a lot of volume, which when you're talking about a small air compressor like this at 125 psi, you need all the help that you can get. So I try to run short hoses, large connectors, minimal fittings in the way, which is why on here I've actually tapped off before the regulator, because the regulator still regulates, even you don't get a true 125 psi out of it even when you crank it all the way up. So I put an outlet before the regulator as close to the tank as I could get it, and so this is for my full power, and then this is regulated down to 40-50 psi for blowing dust out, computers, stuff like that. One of the more recent acquisitions was this bench grinder. Got a spindle on it for polishing wheels and cloth pads, that kind of thing, so that you can put polishing compound and all kinds of scouring wheels, that kind of stuff on there. And then this side's just like a 46 grit wheel. Gonna change that out to a little finer grit. Maybe put a wire wheel on that side. My friend also welded the stand up. It sits on the ledge here, then comes out with a plate to hold the bench grinder here, and then it goes back into all the supports into the wall here. This is rock solid, whereas this is just sheet metal here. So it spans out and bridges the 2 vertical supports on either side, and this thing is rock solid. If you can move this, you're basically moving this whole unit here. So really happy with that. Got that painted white just for shits and giggles. I still need to get a more permanent router out here. I'm gonna buy a better N router, get it mounted up with antennas so it's a little bit better signal. That's just a cheapy one that I picked up at Goodwill or something. Let's see, I'd show you what's underneath the bench, but yeah, why don't I go ahead and do that? Okay, there is the full bench seat. Lovely vinyl. Before I forget, for those that don't know about this structure, because I don't think I've made a YouTube video about it before. This, with all these windows, this was a prisoner transport for a, well, not super local, but it was for a somewhat local prison. Basically, they would take prisoners out. I don't know how many they'd fit in here. I think there was 16 seatbelts when I took them out. So, 16, maybe 20 if they were feeling like cramming them in here. But they'd take prisoners out to fight fires locally. And this was that. This actually sat on the back of a truck. As far as I can tell, a mid-80s or super early 90s Ford. Probably like an F-350 or something like that. But this was basically a camper that would sit on the back and transport the prisoners. Hence the bench seats and the overhead cargo areas. There wasn't any cargo area in that corner, but this shelf was on this side and it extended all the way down. But I took that out just because originally I wanted to use this for kind of mostly a greenhouse, and I wanted to get as much shelving on this side, since this is the south facing side, to grow plants on, that kind of thing. Anyway, back to the bench seat here. This flips up and you get storage underneath. I've just got a bunch of crap under here right now, mostly solvents and cleaning stuff, and the spare motor and accessories for the air compressor. I picked that up on Craigslist a while back. Mostly just wanted it for the tank. Got some garden staples, just a couple things for working around the place here. I need to fit some more stuff in here, but it's pretty decent storage, and it's all closed in this square tubing metal and welded in place. Really pretty nice. Nothing too fun under there. The back doesn't fold down or anything like that. It's just kind of hung in place and then bolted right to the wall, so it's pretty hard to do anything with. Let me get that stuff back on the bench and we'll continue. Okay, so next to the bench, I got this long work table here for crafts and soldering, screwing around, that kind of thing. This was gifted to me by a friend, and I'm not going to name any names because I don't know if people want to, have their name on a YouTube video, but very nice person contacted me and said that they had a table, and I went over, picked it up, and it turned out to be just the perfect size, because you see the overhang from the leg there comes up and over, and there's just a couple inches between the bench and the table there, which I wanted to room to route some electrical outlets. And then same for down there. This support piece just came this close. I couldn't cut this any further back because the support to the floor ends here, otherwise it would be on the other side of this hump. So this was just a pretty perfect fitting table in here. Let's see, got some shelves and some drawers over here. Some drill bits and tools, that kind of thing. I got lights in all four corners, just a single fluorescent bulb with a switch by the door over there. Seems to do pretty good. I put these two towards the center and then these two on the outside edge, and it seems to light this place up pretty decently. For anything extra, I wired in a little flood lamp there. They take a little while to warm up though. That's just for critical working here. Then I got an outlet here with a power strip to run music and accessories. This was another recent acquisition. Push this chair off to the side here. This drill press, picked it up not too long ago. Pretty cheap on Craigslist, just a Harbor Freight cheapie, but you got to start somewhere. And seems to do pretty good for thin metals and obviously wood, that kind of thing. Just got it wired up over to a little power strip there. I need to make something more permanent, maybe put an outlet on this wall here. I'm not super happy with this spot, but it seems like the most, I want it close to the workbench, but not, not in the way all the time. And it's at kind of a high chest height here, which makes it easy to see your work and work your materials that way. So just some more shelving, some more drawers, a couple of tools in there, some seed starting mix for next year, more drawers, more shelves. Normally this would have plants on top, but I've got a kerosene heater out here, which I got to give a shout out to Miles Stair. I think, yeah, he's an absolute genius. He works out of Oregon, and he runs this the Wix shop. And man, I almost gave up hope on these kerosene heaters because they can be really finicky if they get water in them, or if the wick starts getting gummy. They can be really frustrating. I rebuilt one 2 or 3 times, and it still wouldn't. It would light, and then it would run for maybe 10-15 minutes, and then it would just burn out. Really frustrating, especially when you want to supplement heat or have heat out here without running up the electrical bill for, a little heater. So I contacted Miles Stair, and he agreed with me on that I might have a water issue. And he said, first things first, clean out the tank, get a new wick, make sure the tank is thoroughly clean, rinse it out with rubbing alcohol, make sure there's no water, let it sit out in the sun. And I did all this kind of towards the end of summer, so I could set the tanks out outside and they would bake in, a matter of a half hour to an hour, but I let them sit outside for a day or two, bringing them in at night so they didn't get any condensation or anything like that. And wow, yeah, I put a new wick in and fired it up, and the first time I ran it for 3 hours, and it just got cooking. It just worked flawlessly, the best it ever has. So if you need any help with your kerosene heaters, he's the guy to talk to. I'll put the link in the description for you. He's got everything wick powered, not just kerosene, but oil lamps, you name it. He's got a really nice shop, and he's super knowledgeable and really friendly. So I brought one of these out here. This is the smallest one that I got, but it still cranks out the heat like crazy. I got this little, it might be stainless or something. No, it's not stainless because it's made, it could be stainless, could not be. I don't know. I got it got it for free from a yard sale, so I held it up here with some magnets just to provide some kind of air gap, because this thing does get cold, but it is actually insulated in here. So I didn't want the insulation catching fire and all that stuff, because the heat, even though it radiates out, it comes straight up, and it cooks this. It gets this hot enough where you can't hold your hand there. I might have to end up moving this. I haven't run it full time yet, but we'll see. This seems like the nicest spot for it, really. So coming over, got a couple of trees in here, some pines, and maybe a spruce that's alive. These guys actually grew out of seeds. I raked up some pine needles and pine cones and put them in the compost, and these guys sprouted up out of nowhere. So kind of cool to see them coming up like this. Gonna find them a new home come spring. More shelves, got extension cords in there, buckets, blah blah blah. Got a pickling bath for copper. It's always a trip. Pretty cool. See how that works. These were a disappointment. I got a couple of these lights at a yard sale, and I really hate fluorescent lights. I had them all hooked up. I have one still up there that I need to take down, but I had one down here, and I had another one over there or down there somewhere. Got them all hooked up, got them all wired in, spent all that time, and it bit me in the ass because they worked like the first couple of times I used them, and then they just got really finicky. They wouldn't turn on. They wouldn't stay running. They'd flicker. I've got a bunch of lights that I tested, probably a dozen. I even bought new bulbs, and they fought me every step of the way. So it's got to be these old ass ballasts. And honestly, I could buy new ballast, but I'm done with it. It's just way too much hassle. I think for growing lights, I'll get some more of these little steel, low-profile cages here with these porcelain or plastic light screws, and just buy some grow lights to screw in. And that way, if you get these that have the pull switch in them, you can basically have total control. You can have one light on or 5 lights on or whatever. You know, if you only have lights or plants on one shelf, you can just turn those lights on and just go from there. Whereas these, I had them all wired into a switch that I had down here. Real pain in the ass, and yeah, I should have just gone new from the beginning, but I had to learn the hard way. So I still need to take that down, get these out of here for scrap, all that. I need to finalize this shelf a little bit more here. I want to come up over this. I want to come up over this hump with a 2x6 or 2x10 and build a square pedestal underneath it and then insulate it, because that's the one spot where there is no insulation. And I need to figure out a better way to get these shelving units up. I still need the ground clearance below them, but I might have to come up with some kind of a stand. We'll see. It's worked okay for now. I got to get these lights out for scrap metal and do a little bit of cleanup and organization out here, at least before January, February, so we can get some plants going in here. But that's I think that's it for now. I gotta do some more framework underneath this thing, put some more supports and pier blocks underneath it. Right now I only have it supported temporarily, which has been for a year now, but I've got pier blocks here and here on that far wall to support the main structure, and then there's toolboxes underneath either side, kind of like saddlebags, and I've got supports underneath that. And then on the back side here, there's a hitch, and I've got that supported. So it's only supported on the east and west ends, which I'm surprised it's lasted this long. But through all the winds and everything, it's been rock solid. But I still feel better, because there's some spots in the floor where you can feel it flex a little bit. But there's not a lot of metal supports underneath it. This floor is like inch thick plywood. So I just want to get some more supports underneath, maybe run some 2x6s for stringers, or I don't know, something like that. Just something to give it a little bit more support. Oh, one of the other things, there was a horrible water leak in here. It would wet this entire area, and it would drip down and run down the window over there, and it usually came out from some holes right up there. I got up on top, and it looked like something fell on top of this thing, maybe a tree branch or something while they were out fighting fires, or somebody just threw something on top or ran it into a overpass kind of thing. The top is just a bowed piece of sheet metal, and so if you try and push it up, there's nothing supporting it. There's no like rafters, or I don't know what you call them, support pieces that go across, and this you can't really access it, because this is sheet metal here, 2 pieces, and then there are occasional supports, but there's nothing for the top shell for some reason, and that got dented in. And one of the seams for the sheet metal pieces, there's like 4 seams that run across. One of the seams got dented in and opened up a bit to allow water to kind of pool there, and then it would just kind of work its way in and down and soak this in here. I'll put in a picture. I took some pictures of it earlier this year. And I just got up in there and ran some silicone in the seam, and I was surprised as hell that totally fixed the water leak in here, even though I didn't get the entire length of the seam. We'll see what happens in winter when we get snow, but it's looking pretty good now. I'm pretty happy with it. Keeps a lot of the moisture out of here because these windows would fog up like crazy and you couldn't see anything. Also, the tools rust pretty quick too. Another plan is to get some plexiglass sheets that are larger than the window, maybe by an inch or two, and then magnets to act as cheap and removable storm windows, because these are just single pane sliding windows and they are by no means sealed. In fact, there's some rust up in the corner up there. Some of them are worse off than others, like over there you can see there's some really cruddy rust, and over there has some issues too. So it'd be nice just to put a sheet of plexiglass over the top. And like on these windows here, especially in the summer, it'd be nice to get something that covers them and then have like a sheet of Mylar or paint the plexiglass so that it reflects the sunlight in the summer out of here, because it gets damn hot out here. In fact, that's when I was tearing out the shelves and the bench seats in here. That was, it was getting towards the end of summer. Might have been August, something like that. But I was sweating bullets just standing in here. It was super hot. Had to have a fan in the window, and yeah, not very fun. But there's a few more things to do, but it's turned out pretty good so far. Not bad for the first year anyway. I'll have to put in some pictures of what it looked like originally. But yeah, thought I'd just do a November 2016 update for you guys. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.